Welcome to the Deep Dive. We're here to extract those crucial nuggets of knowledge you need, maybe with a few surprising facts and hopefully a bit of humor along the way. Today, we're really embarking on a deep dive into Taiwan's history. It's a place where the past isn't just, dates in a book. It feels like a living, breathing force that profoundly shapes identity and understanding. Even right now, we're going to unpack a particularly poignant and frankly complex chapter, this identity dilemma faced by Taiwanese people during World War II and then in its really tumultuous aftermath. Our insights today, they come from a fascinating collection of curriculum notes, historical summaries, offering multiple perspectives on this really pivotal era. And our mission, it's to move beyond just the facts, to help you truly grasp the challenges, the difficult choices people faced, and the lasting impact these historical shifts had on families, individuals, the whole society. Really connecting these historical fragments to a much richer understanding of identity. Okay, so let's start by laying some groundwork. We often think of war in these, grand, sweeping terms, battles, strategies, big political moves. But the human cost, the personal toll on identity, that's often way more complex and honestly heartbreaking. So during the Japanese colonial rule, that was 1895 to 1945, many Taiwanese found themselves, unwilling participants in World War II. And here's a critical detail, one that's often overlooked. They weren't always soldiers in combat. Many were actually conscripted as military porters, gunfu, or laborers. They were dispatched across huge distances, different parts of Southeast Asia, places like Borneo, Indonesia, the Philippines. Just imagine being sent halfway across the world under a colonial power to fight in a war that wasn't really wars.
That's a truly harrowing picture, isn't it? That displacement. And it absolutely sets the stage for the immense challenges that came next. After Japan's defeat in 1945, these individuals, often so far from Taiwan, they faced an impossible situation. Transportation was wrecked, regional conflicts were still flaring up, political turmoil everywhere. Many just couldn't get back. They became what were known as Nanyang drifters. That term refers to those stranded in the southern seas, Southeast Asia, struggling for years just trying to find a way home. Some were held as prisoners of war, others just became refugees in a foreign land. And the sheer scale of this displacement, plus the profound lack of any real organized support for them. It's quite remarkable when you look into it. Oral histories, like the ones documented in advance to Borneo, they paint such a stark personal picture. These accounts record the desperate plight of these Taiwanese military porters and laborers, trapped in Southeast Asia for years, battling tropical diseases, surviving on next to nothing, facing constant danger in jungles, and all with, virtually no government aid from anyone. And if we look at the broader context, research by the Taiwanese historian Pan Han-Sheng, it really illuminates this. It shows how the nationalist government, the ROC, which was taking control of Taiwan then, had extremely limited resources for repatriation. Their policies were fragmented. And this just led to prolonged suffering, prolonged displacement for so many people. A key insight here, I think, is when political powers shift and support systems just crumble, it's the most vulnerable who are left to drift, left to navigate a world that's sort of forgotten them. Their lives become this unending search for a way back to a home that, might not even exist in the same way anymore.
That really drives home the personal tragedy within these huge historical events. So for those who somehow, against all odds, did eventually make it back to Taiwan, it wasn't just a simple welcome home situation, was it?
Not at all.
The sources reveal this deeply ambivalent, sometimes even hostile attitude waiting for them. Now, the ROC government, yes, they did have plans on paper to repatriate Taiwanese after 45, but the whole process was just severely hampered by the massive post-war chaos, the logistical nightmares across the whole region. But beyond those practical problems, there was this really troubling ideological dimension. Critically, some returnees were viewed with deep suspicion by the incoming nationalist authorities.
Right. Suspicion was immediate.
Yeah, they were often labeled as Japanized or politically unreliable. These weren't just labels. They led to actual official surveillance, significant discrimination. The stigma was right there, pervasive. And let's focus specifically on the gunfu, those military porters we mentioned. Their treatment was particularly unequal, particularly harsh. Records show they were frequently assigned the absolute toughest, most dangerous tasks, often forced to carry supplies right through active battle zones under enemy fire. And for this incredibly perilous service, they got less than half the pay of Japanese soldiers. They had zero legal protection within the Japanese military structure and frequently suffered contempt, abuse, even physical violence from Japanese soldiers.
It's all Wang.
And then after the war, these gunfu found themselves in this agonizing limbo. No official recognition, no security, not from the Japanese, not from the incoming ROC government. Many of their stories just became forgotten footnotes, lost to history.
And this creates what you could call a dual-layered identity crisis. It's really a crucial takeaway from this period. Think about it. On one hand, these people were forcibly pressed into service under Japan's colonial system, basically pawns in a war that wasn't theirs, fighting disease and starvation miles from home. Then, if they managed to return, they were immediately stigmatized, Japanized, or even worse, pro-Japanese elements by the new nationalist government, which, was eager to erase any trace of Japanese influence.
Right.
So their social position was just incredibly awkward. It created this profound, agonizing sense of not belonging anywhere. Not really Japanese, but not fully accepted as Taiwanese by the new regime either. This situation just starkly highlights the multiple hardships faced by these vulnerable groups during wartime. Caught, tragically, between shifting powers, competing ideologies, their loyalty, their identity, their very humanity questioned by everyone.
Wow.
It's a real testament to how shifting political tides can completely redefine who you are in the eyes of society.
That's a powerful analysis. It really highlights the human cost of these huge political transitions. But the complexity, it doesn't actually stop there. This identity dilemma, it wasn't unique just to the Taiwanese returnees from Southeast Asia. Our sources draw this compelling and actually deeply empathetic parallel to another group, the Wansei.
Wansei, yes.
Now, who were they? These were the second, maybe third generations of Japanese people born and raised in Taiwan during that colonial period. So for them, Taiwan wasn't just a birthplace, it was their home, the only home many had ever known, steeped in their childhood memories, their family histories.
Absolutely, the roots were there.
Exactly. Yet after Japan's defeat in 1945, starting around 1946, these Wansei were repatriated, that's the term used, the process known as hikiyage, literally withdrawal or return back to Japan. But here's the thing. For the Wansei, this was no comforting return to some familiar homeland, not at all. They were treated as defeated nationals carrying Taiwanese germs, subjected to the humiliation of being sprayed with disinfectant right as they got off the boats. Forced into quarantine, many faced intense discrimination, social rejection in post-war Japan. I mean, can you imagine the trauma?
It is difficult to fathom.
Some of these children had never even seen their supposed hometown in Japan, maybe lost their parents in the war. Their journey was like the complete opposite of the idea of home.
Indeed. And that shared sense of displacement, a rejection between these two groups, the Taiwanese returnees and the Wansei, it's truly striking and deeply poignant. Both groups experienced these profound identity crises, labeled, marginalized, effectively alienated by the very societies they were desperately trying to integrate into. It really raises that important question about how war doesn't just physically separate people from their land. It separates them from their fundamental sense of self, of belonging. It leaves its indelible mark, sometimes for generations. Their experiences really underscore this universal truth. Belonging isn't just about geography. It's a complex mix of cultural acceptance, historical recognition, personal identity.
That's really well put.
And this complex historical connection between Taiwan and Japan and the profound impact of migration on identity. It's preserved so movingly in countless personal stories, in powerful films like Wansei Back Home, and through ongoing oral history projects that keep shedding light on these often forgotten journeys.
Those individual stories, they just bring history to life, don't they? Show how deep the wounds of war can actually run. So, okay, what does all this mean for us today? How do these diverse, often painful historical memories affect contemporary Taiwanese society and maybe our understanding of identity more globally?
Well, that's the crucial connection.
Our sources really emphasize that these complex histories, they don't just fade away. They form Taiwan's diverse, intricate collective memory. And that profoundly impacts identity formation for people living there today. The curriculum material we're drawing from, it aims to help learners, like you listening, not just understand these challenges, but also comprehend the sort of nuanced differences in historical memories among the various ethnic groups within Taiwan.
Right, because it's not monolithic.
Exactly. And ultimately, the goal is to foster a sense of pride, yes, but also responsibility as Taiwanese, empowering people to face future challenges with a deep, informed understanding of their heritage. This includes really practical, engaging activities, like creating a memory wall with family stories, heirlooms, even proposing ways to introduce Taiwan's diverse history to the rest of the world. It's about more than just remembering. It's about actively engaging with that history.
Absolutely. And this commitment to understanding history, it isn't just about textbooks or academic study. It profoundly shapes how we interact with and see the world today. For many people, this deeper understanding really kicks in when we step out and engage directly with places, really trying to grasp the meaning of travel, as one source puts it. It's an exploration, a learning process. We're observing seemingly small details like, say, the age distribution of taxi drivers, which might hint at economic migration patterns.
Interesting.
Or the business philosophy of a century-old shop, which often carries echoes of past colonial times or economic shifts. Observing these things can help us discover deeper historical patterns, hidden stories. It's a powerful illustration of that idea. The more local, the more global.
I like that.
And zooming out a bit, a really concrete example of this is visiting historical sites, like the Luodong Forestry Culture Park. It lets you physically engage with the layers of history we've been talking about. Its evolution tells such a remarkable story. Originally a settlement of the Kavalan people, an indigenous group, then transformed into a major Japanese timber processing hub, dealing in valuable red cypress, cedar during the colonial era. Then it became a crucial post-war economic center. And now, finally, it's an environmental education park. It's like a microcosm of constant transformation, human interaction with nature, the shifting tides of power and industry, all in one place.
That's fascinating.
And the Wonderful Forest Guide they have at Luodong, for instance, it showcases this multi-sensory approach to learning. It integrates environmental education, cultural heritage, and STEAM thinking, science, tech, engineering, arts, math. It's not just about identifying trees. It's about understanding the role forests play across different climates, the critical carbon cycle, principles of sustainable forestry, and how wood connects to our daily lives, our cultural practices throughout history. As our sources highlight, this embodies the very ideas of forestry history, environmental insights, and market culture connects society. This whole process of discovery, whether it's through carefully reading historical texts or through immersive physical exploration, it helps us transform those fleeting experiences into lasting knowledge, creating what the source beautifully calls a map, a teaching resource, or a story, something that allows the inspiration of travel to continue even in everyday life. It's really about turning observation into profound understanding.
So as we start to wrap up this deep dive, we've really journeyed through some complex and often quite emotional landscapes of Taiwanese history. From those displaced Taiwanese military porters, just left adrift, forgotten in Southeast Asia, to the Wansei, finding their way home to a country that felt utterly foreign. These stories, they're such powerful reminders of the profound human cost of conflict and the enduring, often heartbreaking quest for belonging in a world that's constantly being reshaped by these big political forces.
Absolutely. And understanding these diverse historical memories, whether they stem from the widespread turmoil of the post-war era or the really nuanced, layered history embedded in a specific place like Luodong, it isn't just about looking back for history's sake. It's about developing essential empathy. It's about fostering critical thinking and recognizing the multiple, sometimes conflicting perspectives that together enrich our understanding of any society, especially one as dynamic and complex as Taiwan. And this allows us to fulfill that crucial goal of comprehending history, to develop a deep sense of pride, yes, but also responsibility, and the intellectual resilience, the strength required to face the complex challenges of the future.
So here's maybe a final thought for you to take away with you today. How do these often unseen histories of displacement, of adaptation, of this enduring quest for identity, how do they continue to shape the very ground beneath our feet, wherever we are? And what responsibility do we, as informed learners, carry in actively preserving and maybe sharing these multi-layered stories for future generations? Thank you for diving deep with us.